Welcome to the Vitamin Professor podcast, brought to you by VRM Media, publisher of Vitamin Retailer and Nutrition Industry Executive magazines, in partnership with Nutraland USA. I'm your host, Dr. Gene Bruno, Professor Emeritus of Nutraceutical Science and Chief Scientific Officer of Nutraland USA. So the purpose of this podcast is to help educate the dietary supplement industry about the science of nutraceuticals and other relevant topics. If you like what you hear and see, don't forget to like and subscribe. Now let me tell you a little bit about our guest today. Dr. Suresh Lakshmikanthan is the Chief Business Officer at Natural Remedies, leading global business strategy and operations across the company's pharmaceutical and nutraceutical divisions. With more than 2 decades of international experience, he is focused on advancing innovation and sustainable practices in botanical product development and commercialization. Dr. Suresh holds a PhD in International Business and Leadership and an MBA in International Business from Walden University. He also earned his Bachelor of Pharmacy from Dr. M.G.R. Medical University in India. He has authored multiple research papers on international business and leadership, and his work continues to shape the intersection of global business strategy and botanical medicine. Today, Dr. Suresh is going to talk to us about insights on cellular longevity and aging with regard to Ashwa.30. Welcome, Dr. Suresh.
Thank you, Gene, for the wonderful introduction. It's a pleasure being here.
Oh, well, it's a pleasure having you. You and I both attend a lot of trade shows and industry conferences,
Sure.
and I was reminded when you logged in this morning that we had met previously.
True.
I saw your you got a great smile. I saw your smile. And I said, I know that guy.
Indeed, we have met a lot of times, yes.
Yeah. So let's start here with just a basic question. What exactly is Ashwa.30? And is that the correct way to say it? Is it Ashwa.30 or just Ashwa.30?
It's Ashwa.30. We kept the dot for branding purpose. It's Ashwa.30. The Ashwa.30 signifies the next generation Ashwagandha. Why it is next generation Ashwagandha, Dr. Gene, is because of the precision engineering and the precision dose that we have designed it. It's a 30 milligram dose at a 30% bioactives. And this is the first time in the botanical industry where we were able to sharply identify the active compounds that delivers the efficacy, and we are able to standardize the product at a 30 milligram dose.
That's very impressive because there's a number of ashwagandha extracts out on the market, some very good ones, but never have I before seen one that could provide benefit and activity in only a 30 milligram dose. Now, in preparing for this interview, I read some information about Ashwa.30, and a term came up that I'd like you to explain a bit about. And that term is ATP active fractions. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So before I explain ATP active, let me explain the research process that we have done to bring Ashwa.30 to life.
Sure.
In that explanation, you will get the complete information about ATP actives. See, imagine just like Ashwa.30 is from 100% root ashwagandha extract. Now, imagine this like a bioactivized extract. We used a technology called bioactive optimization technology, where instead of just extracting the entire root to get a 300 or 600 milligram dose, which is a traditional dose of ashwagandha, with this bioactive optimization technology, we were able to isolate the specific phytocompounds that delivers the efficacy. And traditionally, the companies, most of the companies have standardized only to vithanolide fraction. What we found in our research is that in addition to vithanolide fraction, there are many other group of compounds deliver a very good efficacy in terms of energy and endurance. Those compounds, we called it as a ATP actives because they work directly in the cellular level. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
fascinating.
yes. And what we did is we, after identifying these compounds, we wanted to study the efficacy, how these work. So we used transcriptomics and biological modeling, and we found that this group of compounds target specifically the mitochondrial energy. And by targeting the mitochondrial energy, they improved the cellular energy and cellular longevity. That's how these ATP actives came to life.
That's very cool. To me, that provides a whole new angle and understanding of even some of the just the general mechanisms behind how ashwagandha works. Because as an adaptogen, you always see information out there about how ashwagandha, among its various benefits, has benefits for stress and fatigue, and energy, and being that it's working with the mitochondria for ATP, that gives a lot of insight into how it is beneficial for the at the very least for the energy and fatigue angle. So that's pretty cool that you've found that and standardized that and are able to provide that in a product. So another concept that I read about in this was a term called dual standardization.
Correct.
Can
Correct.
you tell us why that is significant for stress, energy, and longevity?
Thank you for asking that. See, Dr. Gene, as you mentioned, traditionally, ashwagandha is very well known for stress usage. And of
Yeah.
course, as a big adaptogen, it's the king of the adaptogen. It's a master adaptogen in the world. And it helps human beings' body to adapt to the situation they want them to be in, they want to respond to. And the industry has known vithanolides as the major active compound in
Yes.
ashwagandha that helps with resilience in terms of stress and anxiety. And what we did is, after identifying ATP actives, we have standardized our product to both the compounds. So today, Ashwa.30 is standardized to 15 percentage of vithanolides that handles the cortisol reduction, improves
Sure.
the stress response, and to keep your body stay calm and prepare for flight or fight response as you need it. That's vithanolides. The other standardization we did is a ATP active, which is standardized to 15% ATP active fractions, which contains a group of compounds like arabinogalactones, polyphenolics, and saponins. Together, they form 15% weight by weight. And these compounds helps with the cellular energy and the mitochondrial energy and endurance for when you take at a precise clinical dose.
That's fantastic, and it makes me wonder, because actually, I've been in the dietary supplement industry 47 years, and I have graduate degrees in herbal medicine, and this really is the first time I have heard about an ashwagandha product with this sort of dual standardization that includes the ATP active fractions. So, to your knowledge, is Ashwa.30 the only brand of ashwagandha as a material that's out there that has dual standardization?
True. Today, as we speak, Ashwa.30 is the first and the only brand to have a standardized for dual phytocompounds. In fact, we did a preclinical study comparing Ashwa.30 with many other ashwagandha available in the market. And what we found in our preclinical study is that the nematodes that we are given Ashwa.30 has shown a significant increase in the mitochondrial energy levels at a different dose compared to other brands of water extracted ashwagandha has shown zero to no results improvement in the mitochondria. So that clearly shows
Wow.
uh, Ashwa.30 is the only brand available in the market today to have standardized ATP actives, and there's no other brand have done it.
Okay. So would you say that that's the major difference between Ashwa.30 and the other ashwagandhas on the market?
Oh, there are many differences, but this is one
Okay.
of the major differences. Ours is 100% root extract,
Yes.
whereas many other companies have used aerial parts to spike the amount of ethanolites because it's cheaper and it's economically motivated adulteration. They do, we don't do. We are 100% root extract, and we are standardized to a very transparent testing methods. You take our Ashwa.30, you go to any major lab in the US, and they can test and validate the presence of these phytocompounds.
Oh, that's
But
fantastic.
as per a HPLC USP method, it's a modified HPLC USP method. Many other companies say they have to be tested as per the proprietary method, and there are some challenges in testing in any third-party lab. So these are the differentiations we bring to the market: lowest dose, dual standardization, 100% transparency in what material that we use, what part of the plant we use, its root, and a transparent testing method. It gives a proof to the a proof of concept and the validation to our work that we do. Yeah. What
Yeah.
good of the product it is if you're not able to test and see whether it
Yeah.
contains what we say. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you, over the years, I have worked with multiple labs in products that I have formulated. And I get a raw material from raw material supplier, and sometimes because it's a proprietary material, it takes a special kind of analysis and testing. It's proprietary. You got to get all the methodology from the raw material supplier, and there aren't necessarily multiple labs that can do it. Sometimes there's only one lab that knows how to do it, and it can be limiting. And to hear you say that basically, for the most part, just any labs any lab that follows standard methodology and knows has HPLC capabilities and gets the information from you on what to do can do it. That's huge. That's a big deal when you're choosing a product, because when you choose it, typically as a formulator, when you choose a material, you're looking at things like what kind of research is done, what kind of claims can you make about it, how can you substantiate it. And a lot of times people forget to say, okay, you got to test this too. You got to test this, and to be able to have that covered in a very meaningful way, that's pretty awesome. I'm very pleased to hear that.
True.
So, I personally have a lot of interest in the whole healthy aging category. I attended last September international conference in Shanghai on longevity and healthy aging, and in fact, I'm actually currently writing a book on that topic as we speak. And so, I want to ask you, how do you think? It's kind of a two-part question. How do you think that the definition of healthy aging has evolved from lifespan to health span, and how does Ashwa.30 align with that shift? Particularly in supporting cellular resilience and vitality.
Great question. I think the definition of healthy aging and longevity has evolved over a period of a decade or so. So we believe, particularly I believe, aging doesn't start with wrinkles on your face.
No.
It starts with your cognitive health, wellness. Will I be able to remember when I grow old the things that I remember when I was young? So the cognitive wellness is the one thing that many consumers, many customers think of moment when they say aging. Hey, I want to age gracefully and I remember everything. And also the physical energy part of it. That's also a healthy aging. Will I be able to independently do the things that can I walk, can I commute, can I drive? These are the things that when senior people, when we ask, they mean the healthy aging. I want to stay healthy, remember things, and able to move independently. So
Yes.
it starts with I would say metabolism in your body and your DNA. So what we did is in Ashwa.30, we studied the metabolomics of Ashwa.30 to understand which pathways the Ashwa.30 influences in the body to improve the mitochondrial and cellular energy. So we studied the pathways like glycine and methionine metabolism pathways, which is directly connected with your telomere support, which is the DNA support for a healthy energy. In plain English, I would say Ashwa.30 supports the NAD and NADH balance, which in turn helps the telomere support. Telomere is the DNA link in our body. It helps the telomere support and acts as a precursor to CoQ10. By stabilizing these cellular drivers in 30s and 40s, the earlier we start, the much better results we will get. So we encourage our consumers to start in their 30s and 40s. Think about insurance, life insurance. The sooner you start, you pay less premium. So think about that. Think about it like that, and start taking Ashwa.30 in your 30s and 40s. And if you start taking early, you are not going to be aging with the fear that you may forget things, or you may not be able to move a mobile. And it's going to be a pro vitality, and you will able to maintain the energy, the engine before it breaks down. Yeah.
Thank you for that. And I just wanted to add something to that. So I told you that I'm currently writing a book on longevity and aging, and in it I'm addressing the 12 hallmarks of aging in the scientific literature. That's what is looking at.
Fantastic.
But what's quite interesting is you're talking about the relationship of Ashwa.30 to NAD, and
Correct.
NAD alone, maintaining healthy NAD levels alone, impacts at least 9 of the 12 hallmarks of aging. Depending on some of the data, maybe even as much as 10 or 11 of them. So the fact that it is having that effect, that there's a whole additional level, from my perspective on how that might help. So thank you for that.
It's a natural NAD balance. You take Ashwa.30, it balances your NAD within your system.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the beauty of Ashwa.30. Yeah.
Cool. Now, you mentioned metabolomics. Can you just elaborate a little bit on Ashwa.30 metabolomics?
So what we did is, in our metabolomic study, we looked at multiple pathways in which the energy and endurance are influenced or are modulated in our system. And there are more than 70, 80 different pathways in which metabolomics can be, the metabolomics data show that Ashwa.30 can be modulated in a more positive way, which influences the increase of energy and endurance, and also the negative markers which negatively influences the metabolism in the body. So it improves the positive influencing pathways, and it reduces the negative influencing pathways. That's the metabolomic study that we have done, and the paper is going to be published very soon. It's in the peer review currently, and it will be out in the public in the public domain for everyone to read.
That's pretty cool. I love that. So let's get to a question that I think is particularly germane to the end user, and that is, how does all of this help the needs of today's consumer?
Fantastic. So what we did is, as part of our research, we not only discovered the product invention. Our product discovery stops when we do a human clinical trial. What good of a product if the efficacy is not proved, how it works at a human level? So we have conducted 3 different clinical trials as of today for Ashwa.30. And there are 2 clinical trials on the stress response, and 1 clinical trial on the energy and endurance response. What we have found is that in the clinical trial, there's a significant increase in the VO2 max, which is a gold standard for a cardiovascular and oxygen intake in the human beings. And we also saw a slower lactic acid reduction and creatinine clearance levels. What it means is, when you are doing exercise, when you're doing a workout, the accumulation of lactic acid means that your body is moving from aerobic metabolism to anaerobic metabolism. What it means is, you are not able to breathe more. That's the sign. So by taking Ashwa.30, you are able to continue to have a higher VO2 max, breathe healthy, your lactic acid levels are very less, and your creatine phosphokinase levels, which is a muscle weakness, is also improved, and which means the recovery is faster. So we were able to study this entire parameter in our endurance clinical trial, and also we saw in our stress clinical trial we have we did a mass test, and we saw there's a 45% reduction in a salivary cortisol. We're talking about second clinical trial now. What it means is that why the cortisol levels are important. When someone is stressed, the signs of the stress happens because of a spike in cortisol level. The more the cortisol level in the body, the more stress you are, and then the way to control the stress is by reducing your cortisol level. That's a stress hormone typically. So we saw by taking Ashwa.30, it starts working in your body within 10 minutes, and we saw a 45% reduction at a salivary cortisol levels. We take saliva from the subjects, and we tested it pre and post taking Ashwa.30, and we saw 45% reduction.
That's meaningful.
It's a very good, very significant number. So both the clinical trials showed that energy endurance recovery has improved in the subjects, and also reduction in the cortisol levels, which means your stress and anxiety is also reduced.
So that's fascinating. That sounds like some excellent research. So I just was wondering, does that, so in your opinion, is this that reduction in lactate? Does it seem that what's going on is that Ashwa.30 is having an impact on energy metabolism in such a way that you're producing more ATP via aerobic metabolism as opposed to anaerobic metabolism, and that's the sort of a mechanism by which it's having that effect? Is that what?
Oh, that's perfectly correct. Yes, that's perfectly correct.
That's pretty cool.
Yes, it keeps your body in an aerobic metabolism zone, so that you are able to inhale more oxygen, and you are able to keep the lactic acid levels lower, and all connected to our ATP actives.
Yeah. And by the way, for those of you listening out there, you may go, "Oh, okay, that's pretty nice." But let me tell you why that's really nice. Okay, I'm going to go back to my early days of my first biology class for science majors in college. This was a long time ago. But one of the things what I learned about energy metabolism was that if you are making energy, making ATP through aerobic metabolism, meaning there's enough oxygen present where you can kind of run the whole gamut of what's involved, you know, a molecule of glucose can so if you have everything you need, a molecule of glucose could basically create 38 molecules of ATP. Okay, whereas if you didn't have enough oxygen, you could still make energy. You could still make ATP. But from that same molecule of glucose, you could only make 2 molecules of ATP. So guys, out there as you're listening, this isn't just, oh, it's great, you're keeping it in aerobic metabolism. That means you're able to make more energy at the same time. And that is incredibly meaningful. It also goes a long way to help explain, you know, some of the results that you're seeing. So that's kind of exciting. I think you've got some groundbreaking stuff going on here with Ashwa.30. Now, we're talking about the benefits for basically consumers, but what about for our industry, meaning what about for manufacturers? What makes it unique for manufacturers?
True. For your listeners, Dr. Gene, we want to be clear that Ashwa.30 is the branded ingredient raw material.
Right.
Correct. So we supply to companies, large dietary supplement, nutraceutical companies, and they use our ingredient to manufacture finished products. Now, for the manufacturers, it's a dream product for formulation. Why? Because it's a 30 milligram dose.
30 milligrams.
And the formulators love it because they can play around comfortably to make a proprietary blends, and they can make it into small capsules, beverages, and one of the challenges with ashwagandha making into gummies,
Bitter.
bitterness. Yes. Now with the 30 milligram dose, you can make a very good tasty gummies, and in fact we have done lime flavored gummies. It has come out very beautifully, and all our industry friends who have taken it really appreciated this particular gummy formulation of ashwagandha. And what is trending now is the hydration, and a lot of people, I see a lot of hydration packs are coming in.
Sure.
Yeah, and it's a 30 milligram dose can go very well within your hydration stick packs, and to go for on the go. And if your listeners, friends, manufacturers who wants to try Ashwa.30 in their formulas, we are happy to give them samples. Just try it, make into multiple formulas, and then play around. You can make beverages, because 30 milligram can go into 16 ounce liquid, and it disappears. It's a very beverage friendly product as well.
That's awesome, because I've spent a good 40 at least of my 47 years in the industry formulating supplements, and it's always a challenge when if the goal is to create a gummy or a liquid or a fast melt or any of those things,
Any formulas, yes.
anything where you're going to taste it, that's an issue. And when it's small enough, even if it's very bitter, when it's small enough, it can get lost in all the other stuff, the flavors, the natural sweeteners, whatever is used in there, and it can be a much more desirable thing. And then there's another angle, too, with that small dose as a manufacturer. You may be formulating a product and say, okay, I want to include, let's say, 5 ingredients.
Correct.
And in that 5 ingredients, but you want to limit your daily serving size to 2 capsules. Okay.
Correct.
And you don't want it to be more than, let's say, a 00 capsule. Now, if you have 2 or 3 of those ingredients, where each one requires a few hundred milligrams, you've almost already reached your max on what you can put in there. And so if you say, I want to put ashwagandha in there, oh well, you don't have enough room for that and everything else. But at 30 milligrams, that shouldn't be a problem. So that's pretty cool.
It's a dream product for formulators. They love it. Yeah.
Oh, I just bet it is. So let me tell you, I've personally learned a lot about Ashwa.30 today. And I just wondered if there's anything that we haven't covered yet that you'd like to add about Ashwa.30, or you feel like we've kind of covered it for the most part.
I think Dr. Gene, it was fantastic having this chat with you. I know you covered most of the interesting questions you asked, and we covered most of the point. And I want to just add that to your listeners, Ashwa.30 is 100% root extract, and it's very safe. It is very safe, and it's as per the USP Pharmacopoeia, Indian Ayush Pharmacopoeia guidelines, and as per the monographs written in those pharmacopoeia, we have extracted the product. We do not add leaves as a fillers, and we do not spike vithinolides by adding a cheaper leaf or a stem into that. We go 100% root, which is safer. And in Ayurveda, which is our traditional Indian system of healing and wellness, for thousands of years, it is written in ancient text, and it is recommended in ancient text to use only roots for ashwagandha. And it is not recommended to use a leaf or aerial parts. And that's what we do it. So we combined Ayurvedic knowledge, what is written in the ancient text, and the modern US Pharmacopoeia and Indian Ayush Pharmacopoeia monographs, and we have followed what is written as per the guidelines. And integrity. So we mean what we say. We say 100% root. You can go back and test in any lab. You will not find traces of leaf in it. It means it is safer for you to consume. Number 2, transparency in testing method. You can take our product to any lab in the US or in Europe or anywhere in the world. You can test it and see the phytocompounds, what we say, at what quantity it is present there. So that's the level
Excellent.
of potency we give it to you.
Well, listen, Dr. Suresh, this is fantastic. Thank you. This has been a great podcast. As I said, I've learned a lot. I'm sure our listeners have learned a lot today about Ashwa.30, and I'm exciting to see what as it progresses, is what new research is going to be done, and be able to read that. So that's very cool. Thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Dr. Gene. It's a pleasure meeting you and having this type of conversation. It's a different one than we usually have it in the shows.
It is, yes.
And I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And to our listeners, if you like what you heard and saw, don't forget to like and subscribe. All right. See you next time on The Vitamin Professor.